So your turn? Yeah, no, there is a second question from Mahat. She says that in the previous verses, it seems that Allah created the earth first and then the heaven. But in the following verses, it seems that Allah created the heaven first, then the earth.
No, it doesn't seem. It's wrong. It's a wrong conclusion on the part of Mahat. That in the previous verses, earth was created first. If she reads all the verses related to the subject of the creation, right from the time of Big Bang, it does not speak of earth having been created first. It speaks of separation of the two, when there was confusion and no separation. You see, it speaks of a dukhan which was not defined into smaller portions. So when God decided that earth should be created, heavens and earth should be created, He ordered that dukhan to be defined into things like earth and heaven. If you read the verses which I have in mind, I don't remember exactly the words of the verses, then you understand what I say. Kanata ratqan wa fatahnahuma. Ratqan is a constant state of that dukhan. And fatahnahuma refers to the creation which was intended. The huma did not exist at the time of fatahnahuma. Sometimes in all languages the reference is made to things which are to be made as yet. But before the creation you can say huma. So this is a clear example of a similar situation. The two things, heaven and earth, which did not exist, how could they be huma? But they were to come to existence. That is why they are referred to as huma. Kanada samawati wal arda ratqan. The potential heavens and the potential earth, they were just fused together. They were existing only in the form of a smoke or whatever you call it. There was nothing but that formless form of something, gases, etc. And this exactly is what the scientists claim today. They say that once the Big Bang began, it began in the form of a all over spread out formless smoke or gases. But it happened so fast that except for a mathematician's brain, no ordinary person can understand how quickly the changes took place. So Fatahna has an implied meaning of that quickness as well. As if they were already there in two parts. So the heavens and the earth, which is here referred to in this verse as singular, but it is not singular as referred to in other verses. This phenomenon of heavens and relevant earths is what is referred to Fatahna in the verse Fatahna. So whatever inference Sister Maha has drawn seems to be faulty. Although she is an excellent engineer, but she is not an excellent scientist. So she couldn't understand these verses and their import because of her own lack of knowledge of how the universe came to be created. Got it?
Yes. This is the verse Surah has quoted. أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ أَفَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Can I ask a question?
Now, I said Ratkan here refers to, in that verse, as Dukhan, as formless state of gases. Now, the following the verses which Maha, the Booth herself has referred. There is a verse clearly speaking of both as Dukhan. ثُمَّ اسْتَوَىٰ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ وَهِيَ دُخَانٌ. Now this, the word Dukhan, as it applies to the Earth's atmosphere, also the same Dukhan applies to all the creative processes. In the beginning, the state of Ratkan was a state of Dukhan. So as you closely read these verses, there the repetition and repetition of the same processes, which apply everywhere exactly. Dukhan is undivided, yet it is referred to two things. ثُمَّ اسْتَوَىٰ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ وَهِيَ دُخَانٌ فَقَالَ لَهَا وَلِلْأَرْضِ ائْتِيَا طَوْعًا وَكَرْهًا. In Dukhan, here you can understand clearly that the atmosphere of the earth was Dukhan, but earth was already formed, right? But it is the same state of Dukhan, of gaseousness, which precedes the entire creative processes. That is what I am emphasizing. So when you say Ratkan, فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا, in Ratk there are no two things. This supports my contention. Ratkan is not divided into two things, while it is referred to as two things. Two things which were to be created out of Ratk. You understand this difference between the application of Dukhan here and the application of Ratk elsewhere, meaning a Dukhan? Have you understood? Thank God. It bothers me that perhaps some listeners will not be able to understand why I differentiate between these things. So I have to repeat and repeat and repeat until I believe myself that the non-scientists also will begin to understand. Got it? Please.
يقول حاطب المؤمنين أني دائما أؤكد على هذه النقاط كي تصل هذه المعلومات الهامة أيضا لأولئك الذين ليست لهم دراية كافية بهذه الأمور العلمية الدقيقة. ويقول حاطب المؤمنين أن رتقا هنا تؤكد على هذا الدخان الذي كان موجودا الذي أوجد هذه ظروف الحياة على وجه الأرض. ثم يأكد حاطب المؤمنين ويقول ثم استوى إلى السماء وهي دخان فقال لها وللأرض ائتيا طائعين. فهنا يقول حاطب المؤمنين أن الدخان هنا ينطبق على حالات الخلق أو على تلك الظروف التي توجد بعد مفاعلات معينة. وهنا يقول حضرة أمير المؤمنين أن عملية الدخان هذه تسبق عملية وجود هذه الظروف المعاشية هذه. ويقول حاطب المؤمنين لما هنا السماوات والأرض كانت رتقا، فالرتق هنا لا لهم وحدة واحدة أو هذه ليس هنالك فرق بين الاثنين، فهذه الوحدة لا يستطيع المرء أن يشير إليها بصيغة المثنى. فلذلك هنا الله سبحانه وتعالى قال ففتقناهما. أنت كيف بإمكانك أن تفتق شيء واحد ولكن تفتق شيء له وحدتين؟ فهذا يؤكد حضرة المؤمنين أنه فعلا هذا ما أراد الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يصل إلى أفهام كثير من الباحثين ولا الشخص العادي. وهذه النقطة التي فسرها حضرة المؤمنين المتخصصة المتعلقة بعملية الرتق هذه.
Now when the Holy Quran refers to Sama or Samawat, sometimes the earth is already included in that reference. It does not have to be mentioned separately, because there the Sama means universe. This is a verse which specifically mentions as-Sama as including everything. Surah Anbiya 21, 105. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يوم نطوي السماء كطي السجل للكتب. That is when everything will end up. It is not even mentioned as samawat. Sama in singular refers to the entire universe. When it will come to an end, يوم نطوي السماء كطي السجل للكتب. Everything will be rolled up and finished. كما بدأنا أول خلق نعيده. As we first did it, we are going to repeat this process. So the earth and the heavens must begin from that state of as-sama, which is one single state, not even divided into samawat. So lack of understanding of these different Quranic expressions, if you read these verses, you will be left confused. But to really understand them, you must gain some knowledge of how the universe was created. Then everything falls into step. And you begin to understand the meaning of all things. As-sama does refer to the entire universe as such, where it is not yet divided into samawat. And this is exactly what the scientists tell us. As a result of the first Big Bang, it was just in an extremely short space of time, the whole matter spread out into a state of as-sama. This is kama badana awwal khalqin nu'id. So when everything will come to an end, a new Big Bang will take place. And the same processes will begin all over again. Now you understand? Thank God. Every time you say we understand, I still feel there is something left for you to understand again. And now I think I have expressed myself clearly. Right? Okay. Now, you have understood everything so far, I hope. But you have not yet understood why the Holy Quran says, كَتَيِّ السِّجِلِّ لِلْكُتُبِ. Visualize first how تَيِّ السِّجِلِّ لِلْكُتُبِ happens. In the days when this ayat was revealed, Uttab used to write on scrolls, on parchments. And when they finished their job and wanted to finish it, they moved it into rolls, great rolls of writings. Moved round and round and round until it became one big roll. Is that right or wrong? So why universe is referred to this process? It must have happened in the universe exactly like this. Now when you read the scientists describing the final moments of the creation of a black hole, they describe that the entire mass of the universe begins to be attracted by the center, heavy gravitational center or immense gravitational center, which is created to undo the universe. They don't say which is created, but they say it happens, so happens. A center is created which is referred to as black hole. There are millions of such black holes spread all over the universe. The black holes are those powerful gravitational centers which attract the mass of the universe around, towards it, with such power that cannot resist. It grows on and becomes so powerful that its field of action spreads to millions of light years. It's unimaginable. You who are listening to me understand the English but do not understand what I'm talking about. If a spot here on the table begins to attack the entire earth to it, and it sinks into that little spot, that will be far less mysterious than what I'm talking about. The whole earth, including Kababir, including Turkey, including Ethiopia, including Pakistan, the country where we are sitting, all Americas, all the oceans, if they could be squeezed into one single spot appearing here on this table, this should be far less amazing than what the Quran is describing and what the scientists fully support. The whole universe will be drawn, which is so big that Earth is less than a spot to it in comparison. If you imagine how big the universe is, the Earth will disappear from sight. So to think of it squeezing into a spot is just nothing. It's mere elementary. But the Quran is saying the entire universe will sink into something, and the process will remind you of a sajil lil-kutub. That is what I am trying to explain to you now. How can this process be likened unto a sajil lil-kutub? The scientists have described it themselves in their own technical language. They say when a black hole begins to attack, mass spread all over the universe at very long distances. If it attacks, for instance, stars, which are 100 times bigger than our sun and the entire system, sometimes it attacks the binary stars, two stars connected together, which are immensely huge. They begin to tumble, waver, and then begin to fall. And as they fall towards this center of attraction, they lose form. And the speed at which they travel is closing upon the speed of light. This is 186,000 miles per second. And then at that speed, they go on and on for millions of years, or hundreds of thousands at least of years, falling. And we have no idea what's happening all around us. When they approach this spot, the spot itself is revolving around itself, like a spindle. And when it falls upon that spindle, it already turns into sheets, or sheet-like shape. Because of the pressures, immense pressures around, and the speed at which it is traveling, it flattens. All the mass carried by these immense stars is flattened into sheets before it falls upon that moving or revolving spindle. And the sheets also begin to revolve around it. And then they disappear. Imagine now. So this is what Ma has asked. It's a fantastic thing which I have not been able to cover at length, but if you increase your own knowledge by reading the scientific literature, you will find that whatever I said is exactly what the scientists believe today. Now, when this question was first asked in Germany, it was asked by a young boy whom we used to call Aki. a question of 8 instead of 7. And I believe it was he, clearly this is what I remember, he is the son of late Hazrat Mirza Barakat Ali Sahib, who lived a long lifetime of his in Iraq. Now, I happen to mention him also by way of requesting you to pray for his soul. Very pious, dedicated person. He was an engineer. His children were brought up in Iraq speaking Arabic al-Darija, not Arabic al-Fusha. But they made do and they did well in Arabic altogether. This boy is quite an intelligent person and he keeps thinking of the Quranic verses. So in Germany he got up and asked me this question. Now I must admit and confess that I was suddenly surprised, and at that moment I did not know how to handle the question properly. So out of respect he sat down in the end, but I knew that he was not fully satisfied. Nor was I satisfied with the answer I gave, which was an attempt to defend the Quran. That's all I did. Now I want this whole interview to be listened to or viewed by the same young man, Aki, in Germany. Somebody should tell him that after I returned home, I pondered over this question and opened up the Quran, and then I began to understand what the real meaning was. So I beg the pardon of all the audience during that question answer session. They should consider my answer given then as non-existent. It was a sort of answer. It was an effort to defend the Quran, but it was not satisfactory to the non-believers and those who had already started doubts. And I want you to do it, in a manner that I always do. I must present these difficult points, solve these difficult points in a manner that even the atheists are convinced. So thank you for offering me another opportunity, Mrs. Maha, to rediscuss the whole issue as I have done today. And I hope if Mr. Aki, I call him Aki, but his name is Akram, Mirza Muhammad Akram. So if he re-listens and reviews the whole program which is presented today, I hope inshallah he and others like him will benefit and learn a lot about the Quranic style of things. Thank you. Jazakumullah. 1 minute and 17, 16, 15 seconds, etc. Ask a short question and I'll answer. Give a short answer, I hope. Azurma, you can't ask a short question. Let him try, huh? No time left. Any question short and or long, eh? So I think let's call it a day, and inshallah we'll meet next week. And for the time being, assalamu alaikum to all the viewers and listeners.
قد انتهى الوقت المحدد لهذا البرنامج. شكرا على حسن المتابعة. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام عليكم.